How much longer will Matthew Stafford be the quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams? And did a coin toss cost the Rams tight end Brock Bowers? That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor and subscribe to the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Getting close to 13K subs, so hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and let us know, how much longer will Matthew Stafford be the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. SI, Dodgers Nation, 24/7 Sports. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's entering his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, how much longer will Matthew Stafford be the quarterback for the Rams? And did a coin toss decide whether or not the Rams got Brock Bowers? That's coming up. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. All right, Travis, we're going to dive right into this one. The Athletic, they do this really cool thing every year where they draft quarterbacks, but the rule is that it's for the next 3 years. And the question today is, will Matthew Stafford be the Rams quarterback 3 years from now? Of course, the way his contract plays out, 2026 is when his deal expires. But of course, that doesn't necessarily guarantee he's still going to be the QB for the Rams.
No, it doesn't. I think you're going to get a feel for what that runway looks like, maybe with this upcoming season right here. Because, look, quarterbacks play a lot longer than they used to. That it felt like the mid-30s was kind of the end of the line for a very long time for these guys. And now we've seen a lot of guys go well into their late 30s and even into their early 40s. And, you know, clearly Tom Brady's the ultimate outlier who played into his mid-40s along the way. I don't think that's going to become the norm. But I do think that end of the line has gotten pushed back significantly too. Instead of it being 35, 6, or 7, it's 38, 9, or 40. So there's plenty of options there. What do we know about Matthew Stafford? We know that he's an incredibly smart football player, that one of the reasons that he and Sean McVay jived the way that they did and the way that they continue to do is they see football very similarly, that they have that, you know, thinnest slice, that 1% football brain that allows them to talk the same language at the same time. Well, combine that with still being able to make every throw on the field. There's no reason he can't continue to play for a very long time, barring some sort of unforeseen, orthopedic injury, right? That's obviously the wild card. But look at what Peyton Manning was able to do at the end of his career, where he couldn't throw the ball 10 yards and they won the Super Bowl because he just knew exactly how to put his team in a position to succeed. Matthew Stafford, I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning, but it's not a total ridiculous thing to think that it could be a similar sort of thing where he understands football to such a high level and he still has a strong arm. I think that Matthew Stafford's going to be here not just for another year or two, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were 3 or 4 or even beyond that.
Man, I was hoping we get into a little debate on this one, but I 100% agree with you. I'll say it right off the top right here. I think that barring injury, there's a 100% chance that he's going to be a quarterback in the NFL for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah.
There's a 90% chance it's with the Los Angeles Rams, probably better than that. I think he retires as a Ram. I think he heads into the Hall of Fame because, Travis, we've heard him talk about a couple of things. We've heard him talk about winning another Super Bowl and making the Hall of Fame. You know, we haven't heard him talk about retirement. Okay. And this is someone who's taken a lot of shots. He's been through a lot of pain as the NFL quarterback. And still, he comes back out there. He wants more. He still has that competitive fire. And you also mentioned, too, the Peyton Manning thing, right? About Peyton Manning, the fact that, he was limited as a passer towards the end of his career, but he just knew how to win. Reminds me of what Phil Simms said. I remember hearing him a couple years talk about where kind of the sad thing for NFL quarterback is once you know it all and you can process everything, the sad thing about that is once you really click 100% from that standpoint, that's when you lose the athleticism. You lose the arm strength. You wish you had it earlier, but the greats, one, teams will give them those opportunities, and two, they just find a way to win ball games and make throws when they need to. But still, I think his arm, it's literally a top 5 to 10 arm in NFL history, and I think that he's not going to have a Peyton Manning noodle arm at the end of his career, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so. I want to go back to what you're talking about with the Phil Simms. So Howie Long told me this one point, and everydayers, I'm sure I've said this on the podcast at one point or another. It's the elevator theory, right? That when you come into the league, your physical elevator is at the top floor, right? And your mental elevator is is on the ground floor. And once you start playing, your mental elevator starts to come up and your physical elevator starts to come down. And when they get even is when you're at your best. Well, Stafford's physical elevator is still pretty high. Right. I know that maybe he has some bumps and bruises and some other things along the way, but his mental elevator has come up. His physical one hasn't dropped much. So as long as, like to your point, that understanding of football, how many different times did we, whether it's the no look pass or him looking a guy off, there just doesn't seem to be that. What is he doing out there? That's kind of a thing of the past with him. And he can still make those throws. I think that the future is very bright. And I've said this before too, D-Mac. There aren't 15 guys that are good at this on the face of the earth. Literally, there just aren't very many guys that are good at this. There's 32 starters, but there's 10 or 12 or maybe 15 really good ones. The Rams have one. They're going to make it very hard for him to leave economically, keeping in mind that's a huge part of this too, right? The going rate for quarterbacks now is nearly $50 million a year. You're not going to look to run out the door at $50 million a year. I think he's going to be here for a while, and that's good news for everybody. It's good news for him. It's good news for the Rams because he can still play at a very, very high level.
100%. You know what's got to be really fun too, Travis, is to be that talented and have already won a Super Bowl with this franchise. I mean, he's kind of doing the side quest after beating the video game, right? He's already beat the game, right? He's just trying to do it again just for fun. But I also think too, the 2024 season, high expectations for this year. The Rams 100% could compete for a Super Bowl, but I also think they could be better in 2025. I think they laid the foundation once again in 2024, and in 2025, they can go big again. So let's see how this year plays out, but they'll sell the vision for 2025 with Matthew Stafford, and then they compete or win that year, then you got one more year, and then you're just back and okay, maybe one other Super Bowl, maybe this is a victory lap, maybe this is just a kind of Cinderella ending, but he loves the sport, and as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to go out there and try to play this game, because he's not Brett Favre. We knew he wasn't going to get into TV, right? We knew he was going to be that guy. I think Matthew Stafford is kind of similar in that standpoint.
Yeah, I think that he's going to play as long as he possibly can. And keep in mind, too, that the Rams have a history, and they've demonstrated it to him. They've demonstrated it to, the entire organization. When they think they're in the hunt, they go for it. They're not just, maybe this is the year. No. When they can kind of smell it in the air, when they think they have a chance, they're going to make big moves. They're going to go acquire players. They're going to go get that last piece. And if that means they got to kick the future down the road a little bit, they're willing to do it because they've done the thing that I would argue is the hardest thing in sports to do, and that is stay good and continue to get younger and build for the future simultaneously. They've been able to do that. And when you've got one of those quarterbacks, ride it for as long as you possibly can. And they certainly have one of those guys.
Absolutely. And of course, you always hear out there the Green Bay Packers, the stability, the sustained winning, because they drafted Aaron Rodgers when you still had Brett Favre. You drafted Jordan Love when you already had Aaron Rodgers. Well, guess what? You have 2 Super Bowls to show for that. You have 2 Super Bowls with 2 of the best quarterbacks of all time. Yeah. The one with Aaron Rodgers, the one I look at as saying, look, you should have won more Lombardi trophies. I mean, just imagine, instead of Jordan Love, you could have had Brandon Ayuk. You could have maybe even trade up for Justin Jefferson. You could have had Michael Pittman Jr. You could have added a receiver that could have helped him. For me, you know how I get down. You do everything you can to win that Super Bowl, and then you worry about the next one after you have that. Because once you do that, you have the equity with your fan base, with your players, and that's what it's all about. It's all about winning that ultimate prize.
Yep, and the Rams did that with Stafford. They got close with Goff. They did it with Stafford. The Rams, you talk about that organizational or institutional equity that you have with the fans. The fans look at Sean McVay. They look at Les Snead. They look at Kevin Demoff. They look at the entire ownership structure of the team. They're like, no. If they like it, I love it. They have proven that they know what they're doing. You'll give the benefit of the doubt. You'll give some runway. You'll give some patience, and the Rams have certainly earned all of those things.
100%. So we think Matthew Stafford's going to be back, but what does he need to make the most of his stay here with the Rams for the next 3 seasons? What will lengthen his career? That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. So whether you are into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there. We appreciate you watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. And if you're not an everyday listener, definitely join the club. Membership is 100% free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Now, Travis, we're going to pick up on the Matthew Stafford topic and kind of just break down some of the things that I think that he needs to optimize himself here with the Rams. I think it really starts with continuing to solidify this offensive line.
Yep.
You saw the investment they put in with Jonah Jackson and bringing back Kevin Dotson. You draft Steve Avila, you slide him over to center. But I think the number one thing he needs is a left tackle. Without a left tackle, you're left out. We saw Orlando Pace, elite left tackle, Super Bowl. You got Whitworth, elite left tackle, Super Bowl. I think a left tackle protecting his blind side is going to be the number one thing to make sure you get the most out of him for the remainder of his career.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any even second good option to kind of get into, right? That this is the best, or I should say the most obvious point of upgrade. You've got a running back in Kyren Williams. You've got another one in Blake Corum. We'll see what that looks like. We know that they've got 2 dynamic wide receivers. You know that, like you just mentioned, the interior of that offensive line has been solidified and seems like it's set up for the next several years to come. Left tackle is the obvious spot. I'll even throw this one out there, not because he's had a huge drop-off in performance, but just rather that he's been in the league as long as he has, is on the other side with Rob Havenstein. And Rob Havenstein's been really good for the Rams for a really long time, and is durable and everything that you could look for in a guy like that. But he's been in the league a long time. And I would imagine that, that's another area where the Rams look at is both tackle positions, not, on the left side, because you'd like to do a little better than what you have. And on the right side, just because the guy's been around the block as many times as he has. And then I guess if we're looking at something after that, it's the one position that we really have never seen them jump on as far as like a playmaker goes. And that's at tight end. That if I'm Matthew Stafford, okay, I got Kupp, I got Nakua, I've got my running backs, I've got an offensive line that does a pretty good job of giving me some time. What if I had that one more weapon in the tight end? And I understand that, Travis Kelce's don't grow on trees. You're not going to go find one of those in your sleep. But just, a C+ version of Travis Kelce, can you find somebody like that? I really think that could unlock a whole nother level of the Rams offense. That's like the last remaining component of the McVay offense that we haven't seen is what does it look like with a dynamic tight end?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. I mean, it'd be great to see him unlock himself with a tight end, a playmaking tight end. But like you said, those guys are hard to come by. I mean,
Yeah.
you went in there, you signed a Colby Parkinson, and he's someone that, as a blocking tight end, can give you a lot of value. But having someone that's a real playmaker, real downfield threat to open things up over the middle, that'd be next level. I mean, just finding him on those crossing routes would be fantastic. But I also think, too, speaking of the tight end, I think that you are going to see an emphasis on some multiple tight end sets, some 2 tight end sets, just pounding the running game. You draft Blake Corum. You have Kyron Williams, who established himself as a top 5 to 10 running back. So an improved running game, an improved offensive line, that's going to go a long way. But a left tackle to protect that blind side, to open up some more running plays down in the red zone. I think that's one of the reasons why with those loaded blocks is you didn't have as much success, because look, you didn't really run to Alaric Jackson's side. And look, you can't really expect elite production from an undrafted free agent left tackle. That's just not how it works in this league. But it's going to be interesting to see how you improve that position. Now, another thing I want to point out, though, is I see what the Rams are up to, man. When it comes to the wide receiver position, you were interested in a Mike Evans. You met with Rome Odunze. How about there was a rumor out there that they were interested in trading for Denver Broncos receiver Courtland Sutton. So I don't think they're done at that position. Maybe they're done right now, because I don't think Courtland Sutton, if he was going to get traded, he would have been traded already, right? And they would have already made that move. But let's see how Troy Franklin does early in camp for the Denver Broncos. Let's see where they're sitting with that, because they're trying to shed money and get cheaper and a little more cost-effective at that position. I wouldn't roll out a Courtland Sutton trade still at this point, and the Rams trying to bolster that wide receiver position.
Well, it's funny because, like, let's talk about the 2 other sports here in town. And the Dodgers have used the trade deadline. In baseball in general, the trade deadline is kind of used by the contending teams across the board. You need somebody in your bullpen. You need a starting pitcher. You need a left-handed bat, whatever. You can find it on the open market with some of the teams that are out of it. Similar to the NBA, I need a big guy. I need a 3-point, a 3-and-D, whatever. You can go and find some guys. Football doesn't really work like that, except for the Rams. The Rams have been really active in the trade market. The Rams are the one team that will say, oh, okay, you got a guy, whether it's Courtland Sunderland or somebody like that. It's like, oh, that's a team that's not in the mix. That's a team that's looking for the future. Let's go grab that guy and bring him in right now. The Rams are one of the few NFL teams that use the trade deadline like a baseball team, like a basketball team, where to try to fill positions of need, or maybe you've had an injury and you need to add a guy. I do think that's interesting, because they're one of the few teams that has a track record of doing it. If you were just, pick somebody else at random, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. You just don't see a ton of trades coming out of the NFL at the deadline. Sometimes it goes by and nothing happens, but when it does happen, it seems like the Rams are frequently involved.
And the Rams are also extremely opportunistic, too. So they wait for the dominoes to fall for other teams. And like, okay, if you want to fall into our lap, we're going to take advantage of that. And I think, to go back to the baseball thing, look, Matthew Stafford isn't Shohei Ohtani, but when they see how some of these guys are moving early on with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in this offense, if he said, I kind of want a receiver, right? Yeah. I think a receiver would open things up. And I think it absolutely would, and take this offense to the next level, especially after they weren't able to get what feels like their top choice in Brock Bowers. I mean, all signs are pointing to the Rams not feeling like they have the final piece to their offensive puzzle, right? All signs are pointing to that, whether it be not getting Bowers or not be going and getting that wide receiver. You kind of had to, kind of had to focus on the defensive end with Aaron Donald retiring. I'm just telling you, they are going to make a move at that position, whether it be wide receiver or tight end, to really get this offense to the next level. And then we can start talking about being Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke, right? When there's that much smoke at one position, it usually means that. And then look, here's the other fun thing about the Rams. They kind of tell you what they're going to do if you listen carefully. If Sean McVay is the master of talking for 5 minutes and actually never really giving you a ton of information. But when there is a little nugget or two, like, that's something we might be interested in, listen, because there's usually a move followed shortly thereafter. So I agree. I think that they'll do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do more than one thing. I think they wanted to address some things offensively in the draft, but the Donald thing changed the dynamic right there. They needed to go to the other side. I understand that. But I'm with you, D-Mac. I don't think that the guys that we start the season with on that side of the ball will be the same guys that we finish it with.
No, absolutely. That's definitely for sure. I mean, I agree with you 100%. When there's a lot of word salad, but they're also, can hold on to those croutons there, right? He dropped some breadcrumbs, right? Or he can just go find that Reddit user that Les Snead was shouting out. Like, he really knows the plans for the Rams' future, but definitely agree with you on that. But hey, bottom line, Matthew Stafford, when healthy, an elite quarterback. He's getting disrespected by Madden. He's getting disrespected in some of these top quarterback lists, but we know how talented he is and that he's capable of winning another Super Bowl in the Horns. But coming up next, did a coin flip cost the Rams Brock Bowers? That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
It is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. And FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Think about this. Think about how the odds changed on Denver all of a sudden. And now all of a sudden the odds changing back Minnesota's favor. This is why you have to be on FanDuel. You got to make sure that you're involved in all of this. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to spend on spreads, on money lines, on player props, on anything you want. And there is a whole lot more as well. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON, and make every playoff shot count. You think playoff hockey's exciting just watching the games? How about you got a little something going on FanDuel as well? FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Travis, did a coin flip cost the Rams tight end Brock Bowers? Now, we talked a lot about the Georgia standout tight end, how the Rams could trade up for him. They tried to trade up for him, but ultimately he landed with the Raiders with the number 13th pick. But what's interesting is after the draft, Terrion Arnold, who ended up getting drafted by the Detroit Lions, was on a podcast, and he said that it came down to a coin flip. He said on the pod, the Raiders coach, they called me after the draft, and they were like, we actually had a coin toss between you and Brock Bowers, and it landed on him. I was like, oh, wow. And then Ryan Clark, he talked to Raiders coach Antonio Pierce, and Antonio Pierce said, no call and no coin flip. As soon as the last two QBs went off the board, we said Bowers all the way. Okay, so Travis, I don't know who to believe in this. And for the Rams, the other side of the coin was Jared Verse, so they ended up in a good spot. But really, this feels like the most Raiders story ever.
So I have a theory on this. You ready?
Yeah.
I think the only reason this is a story is because this is just speaks to how you, me, and everybody that watches football and cares about football and thinks about football feel about the Raiders. Let me explain. I believe that somebody called Terrion Arnold and said to him, hey, listen, man, we were this close. It was a coin flip. We offense, defense, we just decided that Brock Bowers was the place to go. And it just, we want you to know we love your game. But, it really was a 50-50 thing. It was a coin flip. That they used it as an expression, as of too close to call. Terrion Arnold took it literally, right? Not understanding that it's a turn of a phrase. But the reason that you, me, and everyone else thinks that it's like, well, are we sure he wasn't right? Is because the Raiders might do something like that. That the Raiders are the one organization in football. If you said, oh, yeah, they determined their draft pick on coin flips, you'd go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It looks like the Raiders have been run on coin flips for the last 30 years. That this is a Raider thing, not a Terrion Arnold thing. That this was could have gone either way. It's a coin flip, right? But because it was the Raiders, were like, we think they actually flipped a coin when they didn't. I think this is an indictment of Vegas much more than they actually flipped a coin.
Yeah, did they get a custom coin that it had Terrion Arnold's head on it, and then one side had a Brock Bowers head on it,
yeah,
and that's what decided it? Did both sides, I mean, if they're flipping a coin, maybe one side says miss the playoffs, the other side says miss the playoffs. I don't know what it says, but if it ever came out that a GM flipped a coin for a draft pick, they better be fired and banned from the NFL.
But Doug, tell me there's not. Take the 32 teams in the league. If I said to you, name the team that determines their draft picks via coin flip, we'd all go, "Oh, that's the Raiders."
Yeah,
they're even the Jets aren't flipping coins to figure out who they're going to draft. But the Raiders, it's like, yeah, well, I believe it. It makes me smile every time.
And the funny thing about it is Tom Telesco was actually on a podcast and he said, no, it was actually a magic 8-ball that we used. He was actually joking about it. So they're kind of leaning into it. But yeah, I can just see that draft room for the Raiders right there when someone probably popped. I was like, hey, guys, it's 11-11. Make one wish. Oh, I wish we can draft Brock Bowers. I wish we can draft Brock Bowers. It does feel like it. So you convinced me. Yeah, if there's one team that could probably happen, it was the Raiders. But I think you said it best. They probably just talked to Terrion Arnold after he was drafted by the Detroit Lions and probably was like, use it as a metaphor, right? It was a coin flip, right?
Yes.
And then I think Terrion Arnold kind of took a little too literally thinking that they're like, all right, guys, heads. They have a referee, watching this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what was it? It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Was Terrion the head or the tail? Was Brock Bowers the head?
That's the question. Somebody needs to ask that question right there, right? I mean, yeah, it's
only if this came out that the Los Angeles Rams or the Kansas City Chiefs decided to draft Jared Verse via coin flip, you go, no, they didn't. You just immediately dismiss it out of hand. But with these guys, you're like, I wonder if the Raiders actually flipped a coin. It's just, I love it. It's another brick in the Raider wall.
And what if it was Phil Luckett who did it with the Detroit Lions, right, with Jerome Bettis, and they just botched the coin toss? Would the roles be reversed? I don't know.
Awesome.
There needs to be a 30 for 30 on this. I know you got some pull at ESPN. Maybe you should try to get on this because I'm telling you, maybe we need the Ohtani dramatized version. It's just be like coin toss, how Brock Bowers ended up. Because, look, we wanted Bowers. We're one of the first. I think we were the very first show to talk about the idea of Brock Bowers as a Ram. And to get in all seriousness now, I mean, yeah, I love Jared Verse. It's a great pick, but looking back, Bowers could have the biggest impact of any of the playmakers in this draft.
Yeah, time will tell, right? I mean, that if Jared Verse is a guy and Bowers kills it, it's like, man, they should have done it. And again, maybe they tried. Maybe they tried to do everything they possibly could to get into that spot, and the Raiders just weren't interested in moving out of it. But we'll see if who knows, maybe Jared Verse becomes the exact right player the Rams needed exactly the right time. And what's the line? Sometimes the trades you don't make are the best moves, or the moves you don't make are the best moves. So, give this 2 or 3 or 4 years and let's see what it is. But Bowers was certainly an interesting player. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to monitor his performance with the Raiders. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.